Yeah, I'm good, Rabbi. Hey, catch the Torah wave, everybody. Welcome back to our Sunday Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. Such a wonderful class. We're learning so much, and it's always a joy to be with him. So let's just jump right in and see how the rabbi's doing. Shalom, Rabbi Goldberg. So good to be with you, sir. We hope all's well with you and everybody in all Jerusalem. So we're going to turn the class over to you, sir, and we look forward to hearing more of the book of Genesis.
Good evening, everybody from Israel, from Jerusalem. Yes, hopefully, mainly the most of the things here in Israel are okay. I don't know if you know, but we're going back to do elections. I think the fifth time in the last 2.5 years. It's a bit a weird situation, but let's see what will happen. But I don't think this is supposed to bother the class at all. So let's jump straight ahead inside, especially that we are a bit strict tonight, but it's okay. We are in one of the most important chapters where we're starting to discuss the relationship, if I'll call it like that, the non-relationship between Esau and Jacob. I think that we saw already in the last few weeks that the way that we are reading the Bible, the Torah, is like our sages told us, everything that is related to the next generations, to the other generations, not only when it was written down, and we can learn from it how to behave today. So the question is, what happened along history and what's happening, and what it is teaching us how to behave in the right way today. Now, Esau and Jacob, this is the main debate of the history between basically the Christian world and the Jewish world, the Hebrew world. So we just saw it in a few, small tips. Let's dive inside. It is a heavy issue, and we need to learn it and to know it in the right way. And don't hesitate to stop me and to ask questions. Okay, as usual, we're trying to be that everybody will learn it. The only thing is, first of all, it's good to see all of you. Good night, good evening from Israel. We have also from California, this is it, Canada, with the port. Okay, and Lloyd, we can see you. Okay, Miriam also, everything is fine. Let's share the screen and let's go inside. Let's dive straight ahead to what is happening here. We need to read it again, and then we'll start to see Rashi, and we'll start to learn it as usual in a more profound way. So, Hamdan, please, we're starting here from verse 19. And,
all right. Verse 19, and these are the generations of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean, to himself for a wife. And Isaac prayed to the Lord opposite his wife because she was barren, and the Lord accepted his prayer. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. 22, and the children struggled within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I like this? And she went to inquire of the Lord.
Until 24, we're going to read. Okay, please, continue on.
And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 kingdoms will separate from your innards, and one kingdom will become mightier than the other kingdom, and the elder will serve the younger. Scroll down a little more.
And 24, so yes.
And her days to give birth were completed, and behold, there were twins in her womb.
Now we know that it took 20 years. We spoke about this already. And that the both of them were praying and tried to change, I will say, the destiny that God told them, because they knew that they need to continue on with the mission of building up a new nation, as God said to Abraham. Can you hear me loud and clear? Everything is fine. As God said to Abraham that he wants to do that. And suddenly she finds out something a bit weird. We're starting in 22, okay, where two children were struggling within her. I want to read Rashi for a moment because this is a very unusual, a very unique Rashi that is saying something that in the first glance, when we're looking at this, is that something that we can't say it, okay? So at the beginning here we have struggles. Yes.
Yeah, okay, it says, perforce, this verse calls for a midrashic interpretation, for it does not explain what this struggling was all about. And Scripture wrote, if it be so, why am I like this? Our rabbis in Genesis Rabbah 63:6 interpreted the word as an expression of running. When she passed by the entrances of the Torah academies of Shem and Eber, Jacob would run and struggle to come out. And when she passed the entrance of a temple of idolatry, Esau would run and struggle to come out. Another explanation, they were struggling with each other and quarreling about the inheritance of the two worlds.
Okay, so Rashi here is only giving us the first, I'm speaking about the first midrash. The word vayitrotzetzu have two meanings. Okay, the word, it's struggling on one side, as it's being here translated, but it's also hidden in the Hebrew translation, in the Hebrew words, the word wish, will. And this is where our sages are saying, when she passed aside to the Beit Midrash, okay, to the place where they were learning Torah in Shem and Abel, Jacob will to go out. His wish was to go out. When she went along the sides of all of the idolatry, Esau wanted to go out. Now, why this Rashi is very hard? Now, this is only the beginning. The Midrash is saying even more, I will say in a hard way, that we see from the beginning that Esau is a idolatry person, a bad person, and Jacob is a good one. Why this is a very hard explanation to read it? Because we know that each person have a full possibility to behave in the best way that he wants to behave. No one is forcing him to be good or bad. In a moment, I'm going to show this. But I want to show this again in another place here. Just a moment. Okay, it's not here in Rashi, so I want to show it in a moment, in a few places. Let's go for a moment to one of our, in the Talmud, in the Babylon Talmud, okay? That there is, our sages are saying like that. There is some sort of an angel, Malach. In a moment, you're going to read it in English, okay? Malach HaMemune Alei Harayon, Laila Shmo. There is some sort of an angel who is deciding who is going to become a man, woman here in this world, and he's standing in front of God and says to him, asking him, Omer Lefanav, this guy, what is going to happen with him? He's going to be Gibor or Chalash, Chacham or Tipesh, Ashir or Ani. Please read this for a moment. Here, the Gemara answers.
The Gemara asks, and how does Resh Lakesh interpret this verse cited by Rabbi Yochanan? The Gemara answers that he requires that verse for which Rabbi Hanina bar Papa taught, as Rabbi Hanina bar Papa interpreted that verse in the following manner. That angel is appointed over conception, is called night, and that angel takes the drop of semen from which a person will be formed and presents it before the Holy One, blessed be he, and says before him, Master of the universe, what will be of this drop? Will the person be fashioned from it? Will the person fashioned from it be mighty or weak? Will he be clever or stupid? Will he be wealthy or poor?
Now look good. There's one thing that is missing here in those things. Okay, and this is what the continuous of this Midrash is saying. Please read it in English. I won't stop you. And the Gemara notes, but
this angel does not say, will he be wicked or righteous? This is in accordance with a statement of Rabbi Hanina, as Rabbi Hanina said, everything is in the hand of heaven except for the fear of heaven, People
Okay,
have free will to serve God or not, as it is stated. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you other than to fear the Lord your God?
that's it. So we see here that there is a lot of things that are being decided for each person when he's coming to this world. The beginning is it's being decided for him if he's going to be a male or female. Where exactly he's going to grow up? In a place where it's a wicked place, where it will be hard for him to become righteous person or not. If he's going to be smart or not so smart. If he's going to be a mighty or weak. If he's going to be wealthy or poor. A lot of things are going to be decided for him along life. But there's one thing that is not being decided for him. If he's going to be good or evil, okay? Righteoushood or an evil person. And we can see this also in a lot of places. Our sages are saying this all the time. One of the places that we see, please let's read for a moment. And this is the fundamental, I will say, the fundamental idea of doing repentance. You can't punish person. God is not punishing anyone unless you have the ability, this person, to decide if he's going to be on this side or on the other side. And this is also the foundation of the repentance, because person have the ability to decide in what way to go, in which way to decide. Please let's read for a moment this beginning of the 5th chapter of the repentance of the Maimonides. We need to read all of this.
Beautiful.
Yes.
1. Free will is granted to all men. If one desires to turn himself to the path of good and be righteous, the choice is his. Should he desire to turn to the path of evil and be wicked, the choice is his. This is the intent of the Torah statement from Genesis 3:22. Behold, man has become unique as ourselves, knowing good and evil, i.e., the human species became singular in the world with no other species resembling it in the following quality, that man can, on his own initiative, with his knowledge and thought, know good and evil and do what he desires. There is no one who can prevent him from doing good or bad. Accordingly, there was a need to drive him from the Garden of Eden, lest he stretch out his hand and take from the tree of life.
What's happening here, it's interesting how the Maimonides is learning it, okay? And it's related in a different way how to read this verse as the usual way as people are reading it. What he's basically saying, it's like that. Men have the ability to decide between good and evil, and no one, also God, no one is stopping him from doing good or bad. God is holding himself, I will say like that, very tight when someone is doing bad things, and is giving him still, I will say, the possibility to continue to live. He is giving him space of time that he will do repentance. If he won't do repentance, he will come to the Gehenna. Okay? If he will do repentance, God will take him back and will accept him. But God is not stopping anyone from doing good or bad, and it's related for each person for himself. This is where God also stated here that because man ate from the forbidden tree, not in the right way, if he will eat now from the tree of life, he will stay alive with his sin. Therefore, he's sending him out from Eden, so he will be able to do repentance and take from the tree of life. I won't go inside to this. As I said to you already, mentioned once, I'm going to do a very a new course about this and to explain everything from the beginning to the end in another profound level. But the most important thing here is that we're starting to realize that our sages are stating all the time that every person have the possibility to decide in which way he is going. Now let's go back to those verses of Esav, and let's see for a moment what's happening here. And the children struggled within her. Okay, the children are struggling, and our sages are explaining that when she went in front of the idolatry places, Esav wanted to go out, and when she went through or next to the Beit Midrash, the Torah study of Shem and Abel, Jacob wanted to go out. Do we realize, do we understand that each one of them have no free will to decide to become righteous or not righteous. This is a wrong understanding. We need to see for a moment the continuous of Rashi. Okay, when I'm jumping for a moment. That we have here in verse number 27. Please read verse number 27.
27. And the youths grew up, and Esau was a man who understood hunting, a man of the field, whereas Jacob was an innocent man dwelling in tents.
And now we have here, okay, please read Rashi for a moment.
And the youths grew up, and Esau was, as long as they were small, they were not recognizable through their deeds, and no one scrutinized them to determine their characters. As soon as they became 13 years old, this one parted to the house of study, and that one parted to idol worship.
So we have here, I will say it like that. At the beginning, nobody can say that this one is going to the righteous side and the other one is going to become an idol side, okay, the side of the idol. At the beginning, you don't have this way to see it, not to see it, and it's not decided. It is another Rashi, but it's not here. I don't know why. They don't bring this Rashi. I don't know why. I don't know why they did it. They closed this Rashi. This is Rashi. Okay, the Rashi is saying that each one of them decided where to go. There's another Rashi that's not being brought here. I'm sorry, but only now, when they are 13 years old, each one of them is going on their own path. But let's see for a moment what Rebecca is managing to hear from God, and we need to understand what Isaac is trying to think, what to do. Okay, Rebecca is hearing from God. Please read verse number 23.
23. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 kingdoms will separate from your innards, and 1 kingdom will become mightier than the other kingdom, and the elder will serve the younger.
So we have here already, and we said last time, by the way, here's the Rashi I looked for. In a moment, I'm going to show it to you. We see here that, first of all, God is speaking only, we said it, okay? Only to whom? Only Rebecca is hearing this. Isaac doesn't hear this thing. What God is saying to her here is only one of them is going to continue the destiny of Isaac, Abraham and Isaac. Only one of them. This is what she's hearing here. Okay, Isaac doesn't hear that. In a moment, I'm going to explain what Isaac is thinking of doing. But one of the things that it's saying to her is 2 kingdoms will separate from your inwards, right? Inwards. And how exactly? And there will be yes. So let's see it here. Please read this Rashi.
Rashi says, will separate from your innards. From the womb they are separated. This one to his wickedness, and this one to his innocence.
This Rashi is just the opposite when what we read from the Maimonides and from the Babylon Talmud. What we need to understand, and it's written down in Hebrew in a very nice way. Each one of them have a different, I will say, characterism. Now, each one of them is using his own characterism to the side that he wants to go. No one is forcing him. This is what is written down in the Hebrew Rashi. Okay, in the English, it's very hard to explain this. It's not translated in the right way. It's very hard to translate the exact Hebrew to English. Not only to English, to all of the languages. But this is what's written down in Hebrew. In the Hebrew, it's written down. Each one of them have a different characterism. One of them is using it, Esav, to become a wicked one, a wickedness one, and the other one, Jacob, is using his characterism to become innocent, okay, to become a righteous one. But it's not that it's being forced from the beginning. Now, where do we see it? We see it here when, Please read verse number 27. Again, we need to read it again, please.
27. And the youths grew up, and Esau was a man who understood hunting, a man of the field, whereas Jacob was an innocent man dwelling in tents.
I'm jumping here for a moment, and in a moment we're going to go back. First of all, we need to see that we have here two different people. One of them is a person who is working, I will say, with people in the field, doing things, moving the world one step ahead. Okay, he's not sitting, I will say, like a philosopher in the tent and thinking all the time about all sorts of ideas, like Jacob. Jacob is more someone that have a lot of ideas, a lot of thinking in his life, but he's not so much with people. Let's remember for a moment about Isaac. What exactly, where exactly we saw Isaac? We see him twice, okay, in two different chapters. I will jump for a moment for that, just a moment. I'm going to open again another one. I want to show twice about Isaac that we see that he is also in the field. Okay, one of them we know already, and the other one we're going to see again. At the end, where God, when Abraham is sending the servant Eliezer from Damascus to bring the wife of Isaac, where is the first time that Rebecca will find Isaac? In the fields, right? Here it is. I'm going to show the verse.
Yes, we revisited that last week.
Exactly.
Isaac went forth to pray in the field towards evening, and he lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, camels were approaching. And 64, and Rebekah lifted her eyes and saw Isaac, and she let herself down from the camel.
So we see that Isaac is a person who knows how to deal with the field, deal with the outside world, not only inside. I will call it the place where you're sitting down only with a few people and thinking of all sorts of things. Isaac knows how to go outside to the field. And it is also continuing in the next, in this part, just a moment. I'm moving you a bit. I think it's here. No, it's before that, sorry. We have here a long chapter that there was a famine in the land. And after that, we have here okay, please read for a moment verse number 18.
18, and Isaac again dug the wells of water which they had dug in the days of his father Abraham, and the Philistines had stopped them up after Abraham's death, and he gave them names like the names that his father had given them.
I don't know who of you went once to dig a well, okay? It is very hard thing to do. But again, it's something from the field. It's also giving life. You know, when you're managing to find the water, it's giving life. It is very hard. Today we're doing it with all sorts of machines. Very nice, very easy, if I will call it like that. We don't need to work very hard for that. But in those days, of course, they did it. So we see that Isaac is a person that he is living in the field. Now, what is the meaning of this? Isaac, so we have here two parents. We have Rebecca, that have some sort of a prophecy. And we have Isaac, who doesn't have the prophecy. Now, Isaac, both of them are very surprised, okay? They don't have one kid, as they thought, okay? Abraham had one kid, right? Suddenly they have two kids. Isaac is thinking for himself, fine, now we're going to have two people. One of them is going to be the kingdom of the field, of the world, and the other one, Jacob, is going to be the moral priest that is going to join him, and together both of them are going to build up this nation of the Hebrew nation. Again, I'm saying this again so it will be clear. Isaac, who knows what is the field is, you know, how to live in the field. Isaac is looking and saying, great, I have two kids. One of them is Esau, who is a field man, okay, he's going to the field. He knows how to deal with people. He wants to build up the world. He will be the king. He will be the most important person that will be the king of the Hebrew nation. Jacob, who is sitting in the tents, the one who is thinking, he will be the priest, he will be the Kohen for Esau. And together, both of them are going to build up the Hebrew nation that Abraham was promised that he's supposed to build, that God promised to Abraham. I will bring you to become a great nation. This is what Isaac is thinking. Rebecca, she knows something else. But there is a problem here because Jacob is not a person who can live in the world, in the field, yet, okay? So, but she knows in the prophecy that it will come. She don't know exactly how, but it will come one day. But Rebecca, who heard the words of God, and she is not supposed to tell it to anybody else, she is thinking something else. So now we're starting to realize what is happening here in the beginning between Isaac and David and Rebecca. Fair enough. There's another thing that we need to see here that I skipped, okay? And this is two more points that we need to explain here. To explain, there are two different points that we need to explain. One of them is sending us back to Cain and Abel, and the other one is related to what is happening here with the things. So let's go first of all with Cain and Abel. But to understand what's happening with Cain and Abel, I need to explain here something very important. That is one of the differences between the way of the, I will say, the knowledge of the world, especially the philosophers of the world, and also the Christian world today, okay? And not only today, but how the world is looking on things in one side and how the Hebrew people looking at things on the other side. So let me explain this for a moment. There is a very big question. Why do we need the time? What is the purpose of time in this world? Now, nobody really knows how to define exactly the time. There are all sorts of ways how to define the time. And the philosophers are not asking why do we need the time, or what is the moral explanation for time. And the reason for that is because the philosophers, they believe, it's written down like that, cognito ergo sum. Do you know this word? Okay. I don't know it. Yes, but it starts, first of all, with, what's his name, Descartes, who said, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I exist.
Existentialism, yes.
And then it's going also to the existentialism. And the meaning of this is that the philosophers are saying, if I was born, the meaning of this is that I'm existed. Now the question is what I'm going to do with my life, what I'm not going to do with my life, whatever it is. This is how the philosophers are explaining this world, and therefore they don't really understand why do we need the time. Time, it's okay, a period of time that we are inside this world, or something like that. How to define the word time, what exactly is happening with this thing of time. The Hebrew sages are saying something else, all totally something else. They're saying it in the understanding of the world and also with each person by himself. They're saying like that, God created the world, then he placed here men in this world. Now this man got life for free without any reason or any payment for this life that he got. Now no one is feeling comfortable for getting presents without paying for them. Especially not if you're getting life without deserving to live those life. And from now on, from the moment that you got your life, okay, till the end of 120 years that you're passing from this world, we are earning with your behavior the life that you got. This is on the personal level. And also on the world level, from the day that Adam and Eve, came to this world until the day that the Messiah will come. The world also is passing in a world level the same thing. We are earning the rights that God gave us life to live in this world, to bring the world to a better stage. God gave us a world that is not completely good. There are things to do. I will remind all of you things that we've learned in Genesis chapter 2, okay, verse 3. Let's go there. It's the seventh day, and we saw that the seventh day is not closed. And then we have here something very unique, that God blessed the seventh day and he hallowed it. Okay, for the third day, and all of those words that he says here, that he stopped all of his worship, and that God created to do. What is those two words, to do? He created everything that men will do, or will bring the world to the end of the seventh day. The timing that we have here, those 7,000 years that we have from the day that men started here till the day that the seventh day will finish, and of 6,000 years, never mind now, or each person that is coming to this world in these 120 years, he is supposed to earn his life, not like the philosophers. Now we have in the history twice two brothers who came to this world, but one of them came with a set of mind of the philosophers. I'm here, I'm done, everything is fine, I don't need to pay anything back for getting my life. Okay? And the brother that stood next to him thought differently, thought like the Hebrew nation. We need to earn those lives. The first one was Cain and Abel. That Cain thought that everything is finished, finalized, I'm fixed, I don't need anything next to me, I don't even need my brotherhood. And the main thing of the brotherhood, and we explained that, was to teach him that there is someone else. In Hebrew, the word brother is the beginning of the word somebody else. Ach, acher, brother, someone else. And Abel was supposed to teach Cain that there is someone else in this world that also got from God his life. And Cain supposed to learn from here how to give back in a moral way this thing. The word Cain in Hebrew is I'm done, I'm finished. Everything I bought, everything is mine. This word Cain. Let's now jump for a moment to the word Esav and Jacob. Okay, the word Esav, please read verse number 25.
25, and the first one emerged ruddy. He was completely like a coat of hair, and they named him Esau.
Usually when someone is going out from his mother's womb, he is not with hair, okay? The word Esav is from the word Asui. Asui, he is done. From him, in his mind, everything is done. Please read for a moment this Rashi. And they named him Esav.
And they named him Esav. They called him this because he was complete, literally made and fully developed with hair like one many years old.
He was complete in his mind, just like the philosophers. First of all, I'm exist. Okay, how do we say it before? Cognito, no, I'm always saying, cogito ergo sum. I'm here, I'm thinking, I'm here, everything is fine. I don't need to pay anything for getting my life because I got it already. Let's look for a moment now, and this is very interesting. After that, please read verse number 26. Afterwards.
26, and afterwards his brother emerged, and his hand was grasping Esau's heel, and he named him Jacob. Now Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them.
Okay, but look, before we calling the name of Jacob, we have a description Now, usually, we said it more than once, the Bible is not telling us all sorts of descriptions. Even if the Bible won't write down that he was his brother, we know that they were brothers, right? So why do we need to say that his brother emerged? What is it giving us to say that his brother emerged? Again, I'm saying the word brother in Hebrew is to teach the other one that there's someone else here. There are two ways, or there are four ways, basically, how to look on the someone else. Okay, Esau, for his good of sake, doesn't need any brother next to him. He is done. His life is okay, completeness, everything is fine. His brother is brothering him. It's the same thing. Let's jump for a moment to chapter 3 in Genesis. Chapter 4 in Genesis. Okay, just a moment. Chapter 4. Read for a moment verse number 1 and 2.
Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, and she said, I have acquired a man with the Lord. And she continued to bear his brother Abel, and Abel was a shepherd of flocks, and Cain was a tiller of the soil.
So we have here again, and she continued to bear Abel. Why do we need to say his brother? Look at the similarity here. Okay, now the word Cain, again, I'm explaining. The word Cain is everything I bought, everything is mine, everything is fine, everything is completeness is mine. And he doesn't need any brother. Now, this is the mission of the brother to teach. So we have the same thing with Esau and Jacob. It's, I will call it, the history is repeating itself in those two. Again, at this point of time, we don't know yet that Esau is going to be wicked and Jacob is going to be righteoushood. And it won't help us that Jacob is righteoushood, because Jacob is not a field man. He's not managing, he doesn't have the capability at this point of time to deal with the field, to deal with the world, to become a king. He is more some sort of a priest that is a holiness and thinking all the time what is the moral things to do and what is not, how to behave moral in this way and how it's not a moral way to behave. He is not someone that can cope with the life of the field that is happening at this point of time.
Like a prodigy, Rabbi. Would that be like the children of the prophets during the school of Elisha and Elijah?
More or less, yes, something like that. Yeah. Yes, they don't know how exactly.
Young ones, yeah, potential.
Yeah, some sort of a potential that we don't know exactly how it's going to go, and doesn't have the full capacity. And we know that the kings of Israel, especially when you learn kings, each king had also a prophet next to him that will help him to think moral in a moral way. Those are two different titles that we have, or two different figures that we have, okay? In this, we have four figures, but two of them is the king one and also the prophet one. And this is why Isaac thought that this is how they're going to build up the nation. And what I showed here, that first of all, that we have something very similarity to what we had with Esau and with Cain and Abel, and with the understanding that the world is mine, I'm existed, everything is fine, I don't need to pay anything to anyone, while the other side is thinking, or the Hebrew nation is thinking, no, you know why morally we have this word of time? Because this is where we're managing to earn back or to pay back, or I don't know, to earn our life, okay? The existence that we have here. Not like the philosophers are saying, you are existed, everything is fine. You have existentiality, how do you say it? The existing, I showed it in a moment ago. How do you say this? The existentiality, exactly, I don't know. Existing, you say it in Hebrew differently, so a little bit messed up. So this is those two sides. Now I want to show another very important thing here, and to read Rashi. And this will show us the exact, I will say, argument that we have between Esau and Jacob. Okay, because the verse here is saying another one thing. And his hand was grasping Esau's heel. Again, the Bible is not just trying to show us all sorts of, it's not a theater to say to us, you know what happened here, let's be pop, let me show you something. No. There's some sort of an inside
message,
moral meaning to this thing. So let's read for a moment Rashi. It's a bit hard, but let's read it, understand it, and then to understand what is the meaning of this midrash. Okay?
And afterwards his brother emerged, etc. I heard a midrash Agadah that interprets it, the verse, according to its simple meaning. He, Jacob, held on to him lawfully to restrain him. Jacob was formed from the first drop and Esau from the second. Go forth and learn from a tube that has a narrow opening. Insert two stones into it, one after the other. The one that entered first will emerge last, and the one that entered last will emerge first. The result is that Esau, who was formed last, emerged first, and Jacob, who was formed first, emerged last. And Jacob came to restrain him so that he would be the first to be born as he was the first to be formed. And he would open her womb and take the birthright by law.
So we're speaking here, it's a very weird midrash, okay? It's trying to explain to us that the first one that went out is not the firstborn. Now, the truth is, halachically, okay, when a woman is giving
so a
birth,
difference between conception and birth.
Exactly. Now, the halachically side of the birth is the one that is going out. The first one that is going out, he is called the firstborn. That's it. And he is the one that is getting twice amount of all of his brothers. And there are all sorts of halachic sides for the firstborn. Here we're speaking about the concept. What is the main concept here? The main concept here is that we see that from the beginning, the question is who is going to be the priest of the nations? The firstborn, now listen good to what I'm going to say. The firstborn, we see this in the 10th pledge of the Egyptians. What was the 10th pledge? The firstborn is going to die. And then we're continuing on, and we know that in Exodus, it's in chapter, just a moment, I'm moving you that you won't bother me here. One of the things that we've learned, please read this one. The second is...
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, sanctify to me every firstborn, every one that opens the womb among the children of Israel, among man and among animals. It is mine.
Well, what is the meaning of this? In the beginning, it wasn't that the priests were worshiping God in the tabernacle or in the Mikdash, okay? In the beginning, in the Temple Mount, the firstborn was supposed to worship God or to lead the families. They are the priests. They are the real priests. I won't go inside, okay, because of the golden calf. They moved it from them and everything else. But until this point, and also in the beginning when we went out from Egypt, the firstborn, the meaning of the firstborn is he is supposed to be the priest. Now we saw this also with Esau, and we showed that Esau was the most, I will say, holiest. God spoke with Esau. He didn't spoke with Cain, with Abel. God spoke with Cain. He didn't spoke with Abel. Okay, and God said to Cain how exactly he can do repentance. He didn't explain this to Abel. We saw that the firstborn is very important. We see this also here. So the meaning of this midrash that we saw now in Rashi, or the meaning of what is happening here, what we saw that his hand was grasping Esau's heel, is both of them were trying to say who is going to be the firstborn that is going to be the priest for the nations. I will show it to you also in another verse in Exodus. Okay, let's go to another verse in Exodus in chapter 5. chapter 5. No, sorry, chapter 4. Sorry. My mistake. The end of chapter 4. Please read verse 22 and 23.
22. And you shall say to Pharaoh, so said the Lord, my firstborn son is Israel. So I say to you, send out my son so that he will worship me. But if you refuse to send him out, behold, I am going to slay your firstborn son.
See the importance of the firstborn. The firstborn here is some sort of, we'll say, a nickname, okay, to express the one who is going to be the priest for the nations, who is going to be the nation that is going to bless all the nations of the world, that is going to unite back all the nations of the world. And this is mainly the main, I will say, battle that we have between Esau and Jacob from the womb of the mothers. Now Isaac is under the mindset that maybe they can work together. One will be the king, the other one with the field, with everything that is outside of the kingdom, and the other one will be the priest that is going to be the moral guidance for this nation. Rachel is getting the prophecy that this is not what is going to happen. She doesn't know exactly how. We're going to learn how it happened. I want to remind you all, but again, it's only like I will call it like hinting something, but it's not explaining it. That that Jacob is going to get another name. Another name. You remember that we said it once. Name in Hebrew. The word name in Hebrew is what is your purpose in life. So Jacob is going to have another purpose in life. Not only to be Jacob, but also to be Israel. Now we're starting to realize why he's getting another name. Not like Abraham, that his name changed a bit. Not like Isaac, that his name stayed from the beginning to the end of his life. Jacob is going to get another name. It's going to be Jacob, it's going to be Israel. So we need to understand what, now we're starting to realize what happened to Jacob. He changed his destiny. He changed his purpose in life. At the beginning, Isaac was right. It was supposed to be Jacob and Esau. But something they changed, that Jacob got another purpose in his life to lead the nations by himself. We need to explain this a bit more. This is for things for the next time. I think I spoke too much already with all sorts of ideas. And this is time for questions or things that you want to know, whatever it is, or you want to speak about something else.
Rabbi, I've been getting some questions online, really about the reality of relations between, say, teenagers. I'll read the question as it was. Let me see here. If a teenager, a Noahide, is he allowed to have a girlfriend or a wife, which I really love? Does he have to live in the same house as the person, or is it sin? And we've been, debating that between several of us in the chat room. And so, some people have brought up the point about the age of 12, and bar mitzvah. And I said, yes, the difference between a man and a child is still vast. And I said, some psychologists, don't consider a man fully developed until he's at least 25. And,
First of all, let's say there are a few things here that you're asking, and let's nail them, step by step. I'll say it like that. First of all, I think that we said more than once that there is a difference between the adultness of the Hebrew nation and the idleness of the modern world. There are two different things. The idleness of the Hebrew nation is when someone can give life to others. I got life for free. The main payment that I can give back is to give life back to someone else. This is the main payment that I can do. If someone, God forbid, doesn't have any kids, it could happen to people. So they're giving them, like Abraham, okay? We said that he didn't have kids until the age, of 100, or before that a bit, 87, that he had Ishmael. And what did he did before that? He was educating others and bringing them under the Shekhinah. He was teaching the right things. So to teach people, it's the same thing like, giving birth to people. So this is what the Hebrew sages are saying. Idleness is when you can give life. This is more or less in the age 12, 13, for women, for men. Now, there is a second stage where someone is adult enough not to take life from others.
Right.
In Canada, it might be 25 years old. Let's go to Lalaine. Hi, Lalaine, good to see you. And to the Filipinos. They're starting to work. They're going outside to the field when they're already 16, 17 years old. They're a bit more adults. Maybe they know less
the burden
in
of
the knowledge,
responsibility, sure.
but the responsibilities and everything else, they're already adults in this age. Okay? Now, to get married, not to live together in a way that it's not appropriate 100%. To get married, also Noahide is supposed to get married. To get married, it's not something that you can do when you're 12 or 13 years old. Don't get confused. You need to have the responsibility. So again, with the Filipinos, you could start when you're already 17, 18 years old, because this is where they're going outside, they're starting to work, they're getting responsibility, everything else. In the Canadian world, in the Australian world, I remember that. It was really weird for me. I was living, as you know, I was a
you worked in Australia,
messenger.
Yeah.
I was working in Australia for 3 years, and the people that I was working with were not teenagers, but students in the university. And they were 23, 24, 25 years old. And the parents knew exactly when they went to the lesson and when they didn't went to the lesson. They sneaked out. And it was so weird for us because in Israel, you're going to the university after you did the army.
Yeah, 19 years.
We are so far from our parents after we did the army. After we did the army, we don't know anybody. We know ourselves
You're
only.
independent, sure.
Fully independent. So it was so weird for me that a person 25 years old is giving his parents all that. So in Australia, in Canada, maybe also in the United States, you're not being really adult until the age of 24, 25. Fair enough. So you're getting married a bit older. In places like the Filipinos, you're getting married even to live together. A boy and a girl to live together, one with each other, without getting married. This is something that is inappropriate, also for Noahide.
Inappropriate. Okay, I think that answers the question, and I think that's what we've been covering. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Rabbi, in Canada, I don't know about the west of Canada, but in Quebec, it's usual to it's the custom is not to get married. People live together, and it's considered like in the law, it's considered like married.
Okay. So now we're getting inside to another issue.
Yeah, they call it common law.
Exactly. And and what is the meaning of this for the Noahide laws? And the truth is that if you're getting married in the common law, in the laws of the place where you are, so as a Noahide laws, it's counting as a marriage. Okay, just you need to know that, and you're not allowed to break it, without any. You need to do it in the right way. But here we're going inside to questions that are related to specific places, And when you have a specific question, ask us, the rabbis, and we'll explain to you what exactly to do. I think that the principles are also being explained in the Brit Shalom book.
What about Rebecca that was, I believe, 3 years old? How do we understand this situation?
I skipped this issue, and there's a good reason why I didn't want to go inside to this issue, okay? First of all, it's part of the Midrashim. Not all of them are saying it is. I don't want to go inside to this issue here, okay? It's very complicated. It's also related with the Kabbalah things. Some of the things we can't really explain here. It's not the only thing that I skipped. So leave this aside, say to yourself, this is something that I don't understand 100%, and I don't want to go inside to everything. You want me, I can list you a long list of things that I skipped. We're trying to learn here things that are related to us, that we can live, or that's teaching us how to live the life. Even think about the things that look at the things that we've learned today about the moral behavior of time, or the moral understanding of time, how to behave. Do I look on my life as something that it's mine, I don't care anything, I will say it in hard words, okay? I don't give a shit and nothing, I got my life? Or you're saying, no, I got life. How do I earn them back from God? By giving life to someone else, by teaching someone else, by doing good deeds. 120 years here. What is my purpose in life to do? When I will go back, God will say to me, very good, I gave you life, you did it in a good way. Even look at what we've learned today and the moral understanding, and this is what I'm trying to teach all the time here, and not to go inside to very narrow, small issues that won't explain to us or not giving us any moral understanding of behavior. Okay?
Okay. I have another question. When you said that God is holding himself when someone is doing something bad, God is holding himself not to let him have time to repent. And I was wondering if is there some kind of responsibility by God letting someone do harm or cause pain to someone innocent? How do we understand this situation also?
We've learned this more than once, but I want to show you something, okay? I want to show you something. Let me share the screen for a moment. Look here. I'm going to Kings 1, chapter 13, okay? We have here someone that came from Judah, and he's Dan, can you read, please, the first four
For sure,
verses.
Rabbi. All right. And behold, a man of God came from Judah at the command of the Lord to Bethel, and Jeroboam was standing on the altar offering sacrifices. And he called in prophecy about the altar at the command of the Lord. And he said, Altar, altar, so said the Lord, behold, a son will be born to the house of David. Josiah will be his name. And upon you he will slaughter all the priests to the high places who offer sacrifices on you, and human bones will they burn upon you. And he gave a sign on that day, saying, This is the sign that the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be split, and the ashes that are upon it shall be spilled. And it was, when the king heard the words of the man of God, which he proclaimed concerning the altar in Bethel, that Jeroboam stretched out his hand from over the altar, saying, Seize him. And his hand that he had outstretched against him became stiff, and he could not draw his hand back to himself.
We need to read another two verses, please.
And the altar split, and the ashes fell from the altar in accordance with the sign that the man of God gave by the word of God. And the king responded and said to the man of God, Entreat now the Lord your God, and pray for me, that my hand be drawn back to me. And the man of God entreated the Lord, and the king's hand was drawn back to him, and it was as before.
We see something amazing, and if you're asking me, this in my idea, again, I'm not God, but we know that there's a difference between how God is behaving in this world and in our mind. Okay, this king stood there. He's getting a very hard prophecy. He sees in front of him that the prophecy and the sign of the prophecy is coming. So the most obvious thing that he's doing, this king, he's stretching his hand and he's saying, "Seize him!" And what is happening? What is happening? God is freezing him. You won't go against me, right? And he's begging, please, please pray to God that I will be able to behave normal again. Now, if you're asking me, every time that someone is doing something against God, what is supposed to happen? It's supposed to get freezed. But God, with his mercy, is giving us time. Again, listen to the word. He's giving us time to do repentance. More than that, God, with his mercy, giving us the power to continue to live and to continue to do things against God. Starting to realize what is this free of choice that we have. This
What about doing? Sorry, I'm sorry. What about doing things to someone else, not against God?
No, when you're doing something bad to someone else, you're doing something bad against God, because he also has the image of God in himself.
Also.
Start to think about this like that again. If you're doing something bad to someone else, you're doing something bad to God, because he has the image of God inside himself, just like you have. Don't think about this like you're doing something to someone else. No, you're doing something bad. You're not allowed to do anything bad, not to any person, not to any tree, not to anything, not to any animal, just for the good of sake of doing something bad.
Yes, and that person, that tree or that person is suffering, and if God is taking time, giving him time, that person can do more harm and keep doing harm to that other person that keeps suffering.
Right. So this is something else. No. You're jumping to something else. Now
this is my question. This is
looking. I understand. You're looking from the side of, I will say, from the kid that is suffering. Okay.
Yes. Like
why exactly why exactly this kid is suffering? This is a question that we need to ask God. How come he's bringing here someone that is suffering? Maybe it's something that is related to, I don't know what exactly. This kid was supposed to suffer, okay, or by someone that is suffering him, or by a snake or something else. God have a lot of ways how to bring this suffering to this kid. Okay, no one is allowed as a man, okay, as a human being, we are not allowed to deal or to take the side of the bad, bad person of doing bad things. God, because of all sorts of reasons, decided that this kid's supposed to suffer. He could do it if this man is doing it, and if this man won't do it, so something else will do it for him. Okay, look at this now in different eyes. It's a different thing. Now, we are not allowed, God is saying to us in the Ten Commandments, don't kill, don't steal, So you're not allowed to do those things. There's a very, very hard midrash that is saying in the beginning of in the first day, that God is working, is progressing his world with the righteous people and also with the wicked people. I said it more than once. The parallel that I can bring, okay, the simulation, it's similar to this clock that is going in the right side, but there are a lot of inside small, bitty, tiny things that they're going the opposite way. And this is why it's on the same timing, on the right timing, because there are all those who are going in the right side and those who are going in the other side. So God is working with everybody. So separate those two things, okay? I know that I'm saying hard things. It's not so easy to adjust. Think about those things. Bart wanted to ask something. Just a moment. Bart is waiting very patiently to ask something. Let's get Bart also there.
Just a question. If I understand it well, concerning the behavior of the two brothers, Esau and Jacob, in the womb of Rebecca, can I understand this behavior as their natural inclination? That they behave,
I'm not, please expand your question. I'm not really catching the question. I'm sorry.
we have a Yetzer Hara, a Yetzer HaTov. Can I understand this?
No, I want to say something else. Listen good to what I'm going to say. Each one of us have a different characterism in his personality. There are people, okay, who have no problems to look or to see blood. They can become doctors to save life, and they can become murderers to kill people. There are people, if they will see blood, they will faint, right? So each one of us have a different characterism inside himself. How is he going to use it, for good or bad? Depends on him. And what we saw there in the beginning of the womb, it's not the Yetzer Tov Yetzer Hara. It's the, I will say, the characterism of Esav is to go to the, I will call it, to the field, to the world, to what is happening in the world, to use or to behave with the physical world. This is what we call the side of the idolatry. And the characterism of Jacob is to go to the place where it's a spiritual side, thinking side, whatever it is, the other side. Those are two different characteristics. At the end, Esau will take it to the bad side, and Jacob will take it to the good side. But it's not that it's starting from the Yetzer Tov Yetzer Hara. Both of them have Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. Both of them have the same, but they are different characteristics.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Travis.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
In terms of the behavior of Esau and Jacob, Esau be drawn to wickedness and Jacob be drawn to righteousness. In today's secular world, young people can be influenced by peer groups and exhibit some kind of characters that can be good or can be bad. And as parents, sometimes when you see your children growing up with characters they don't like, you want to start to give them disciplinary action or counsel them to guide them on the path of righteousness. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not possible. So looking at this secular environment, don't we think that if we have young people, we can guide them or counsel them from the path of wickedness and they can change onto path of righteousness instead of allowing them to go in the way they think that they have chosen as their natural path?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure that I understand that there's a question here with what you're saying. You with me, Collins?
Yes.
I'm not sure that I understand the question.
If the question is that the natural part of a child is to be like Esau, can a parent decide to be guiding and advising that child to turn from wickedness to righteousness?
I will say it like that. First of all, the question of education, okay, it's a very, I will say, very profound question. And you need, first of all, you need a lot of prayers, whatever it is. Listen good, Ariel, and you need a lot of prayers with the kids. As you all know, I was a high school principal for, and I was working with kids, with adults for almost 40 years, 48 years. One of there are a few principles. I will say 2 or 3 principles, and maybe I hope it will give you answer other things. Principle number 1 is to try to realize what is the characterism of the kids. Okay, what is their characterism? Now listen good. This is one of the most most things that are doing a lot of harms for people, because a lot of times people are looking and saying to themselves, but I want you to become this and this. But the kid is something else. Okay, so the first step is to understand what exactly his characterism. If he's someone that, I said it before, but it's, I don't want to be too much, it's like, it's not going inside, drilling inside to a lot of, yes, but there's someone who is doesn't care to harm someone else. He doesn't care to see blood or something like that. So send him to be a soldier, okay, or to be a doctor. Don't try to force him to be kindness and not to harm anybody else, because this is what he loves to do. Send him to become a soldier, for the country that you live in. So the first point, or the first step, is to understand what exactly is the character of this specific kid. And it's different between each child and child. Believe me, it's different. Each child have different characteristics, and you can see it in the first week of the kid. You can see that it's different, okay, one from each other. And the second side, the second step, is to not to force them. In the beginning, in the first few years, you need to show them, to be very strict. But after, the age of 5, 6, 7 years old, the way is not to force them, it's more to lead them, to lead people. When you're leading people, you're managing to take out from them the best that they have inside. As more that you're trying to force them, what will happen to you is that they will rebel later on. They will do just the opposite, against whatever it is. This is, I will say, the main two principles that we need to start with. Now, there are a lot of details inside, a lot of prayers that you won't do things wrong. And not to forget the most important thing, that when they are already 16, 17, 18, 20 years old, it's their behavior and their life. One of the most hardest things that we have is to say to ourselves, but I don't want him to become this and that. It's their life. You gave you the maximum that you have, it's their life. One of the biggest mistakes that people have is that to decide for their kids how they need to be, what they need to learn, what they need to do, whatever. With all due respect, we also got separated from our fathers and mothers, Those are I will say, the main three principles. It is very hard to give answer for a broad question, principle question. You need to deal every time with the things themselves. And I'm saying this from my experience, okay? 35, 38 years of experience with teenagers. And I did a lot of mistakes, it's okay. And a lot of things I did good, it's okay. And I prayed a lot also. But this is how it's working.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously you also wanted to ask something. Yes,
Yes,
please.
Rabbi. I think it's all said in our seven commandments of the Noahide. You begin early. I'm going to kick off with Dan here. Teach them early in the way they should go. The first two commandments, you got to strengthen the faith in knowing that Hashem is the creator, grow the love and faith that he does everything for good. And then you have the five, those are the spiritual growth. And then the five human, the five flesh, laws of the flesh, the murder, the stealing, the eating of the animal. It says no harm. Those are all that's saying is do no harm to anybody. Then if you do harm, we made another rule. We got courts that are going to punish you. So if you look at all seven, they're laid out exactly the way that we should be teaching them. First, have the faith. Know that everything, whether it's harsh or pleasant, is for the good. Follow the rules and don't get into the courts.
Fair enough. It's fine. It's a nice way to present it. Because we're speaking about 7 billion people, some of them will see this in a different angle, but it's okay also. It's okay also to see it in a different angle. Okay, Nathan, we didn't saw your kid today. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's nap time, Rabbi Chaim.
Fair enough. Okay, excellent.
So I had kind of two questions now that we've been having this discussion. So it's interesting to me that Isaac technically had a son who was wicked. And is that at any fault to Isaac, like as a parent or anything like that? How does one live with that?
What I said before,
Yeah.
that don't forget that each person, when he's growing up, have his own will, his own path, and he is deciding how to behave.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm confused
I will
by
show you
too,
just a moment for this
Yeah.
this specific. Let me show you for a moment a very important verse that we will understand that Isaac was not, someone who doesn't understand what's happening around. Okay, so please be with me for a moment. Read please for a moment, Ariel, those two verses. And Esav. See here, and Esav was 40 years old, and he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, and Bosmat, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. And what happened then? And there were vexation of the spirit of who? Isaac and Rebekah. He is not a dumb person, Isaac. We're speaking about 40 years. He was 40 years old. Isaac was really disappointed from him. Okay? It's not that Isaac didn't know what's happening around. And even though the next verses will be that Isaac is saying to him, to Esav, okay, I want to bless you. But we will learn this. But I want you to understand, it's not that Esav decided to go on this path. You can't say to yourself, okay, but it's my fault. Don't take a blame of something unless you guided him, go to, there are families, how do you say it in Italy? The families of the mafia families, right? They're teaching there how to become a cruel person. So this is where they also have a bit of a fault of them. But most of the families are not mafia's family, right? So don't take responsibility of things that it's not your responsibility.
Okay, that's really good. Did you have questions?
I did, but it's kind of maybe a deeper
Well,
question.
go ahead.
No, that's the other question.
Okay, just the other question I had was what we were just learning there. Just the language to me seems. I just have a question. So when Esau came out, it says they named him Esau, and then when Jacob came out, it says he called his name Jacob, and then it says Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Is there anything, like, obviously there's some stuff in the details. Can you explain that a bit?
I don't want to go inside to this. The main thing we read, the most important thing is that everybody around saw that he is already completeness, I'll say it like that he is feeling that the world is his. He doesn't supposed to pay anything for this world. He owns everything, whatever he wants, he will take. Everybody saw that, okay? While Jacob was something much more, an inside incubator, something there inside the Bet Midrash, the learning place. It wasn't so for all of the public. This is the main differences between them. And this is what we said, the field, going outside or staying inside.
Okay.
More or less, this is enough. This is enough now for this. Okay.
Thanks, Rabbi. That's great.
Fair enough. I need to go. I'm sorry. I'm already 10 minutes late. If there are more questions, you know my email. It's okay. And we're going to meet next week.
So,
Hopefully.
okay, so we are on for next week, Rabbi.
Yes, next week.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent.
After
So,
that,
folks,
there won't be a problem, but it's okay.
we're gonna close her down for today, but we're gonna be back on with Genesis class same time next week. And for those of you watching online, I will be back on in just over an hour and a half, or 2.5 hours, with Rabbi Carmi Ingber in our working together series Q&A with Rabbi Ingber on the Nativ Zoom room. And for those of you who haven't heard yet, I'm still planning having a Noahide convention here in November. Rabbi Goldberg's aiming to attend. Rabbi Michael Skobach is going to be headlining, and his wife Shashi is going to be doing some teaching some meditation, which she's taught many Jewish synagogues meditation, and she's going to modify it for Noahides, and that's exciting. And also, I've got Rabbi Aaron David Poston of Yiboneh in Jerusalem planning to attend. I'm looking forward to it. It's the 21st and 22nd of November later this year, and it should be exciting. So if anybody wants to know more, there are links posted out there. You can see it on the Noahide World Center Facebook page and on YouTube. There is links underneath if you want to register. And I've had people register all the way from north of Anchorage, Alaska, and all the way from as far east as Winnipeg in Canada already. So that's exciting news, and we're really hoping to make it successful so that more things of this nature that help build communities do come into play. And we hope to work. We're calling it an acceleration conference, aiming to get input from everybody that attends on how communities can coagulate and come together and actually begin to build. And a lot of the lessons that we listen to teach the morals and the ethics of the people, which is great, and we all need that. But to start making steps and stages. I know that Rabbi Goldberg's planning an influencers course soon, and many people are already registered in that, and that's going to be exciting as well. And the whole aim is to keep developing communities around the whole planet and make the world a better place. And I'm so thankful that Rabbi Goldberg continues to teach this class of Genesis in depth. It's really pulling out all kinds of detail, and I encourage everybody to share this video, like it on social media, and share it out there. And we will be back next week. So we're gonna call it a day for today, but I'll be back live in social media with Rabbi Ingber at 5 p.m. Eastern today. That's 2 p.m. Pacific for me. And have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You all.
Catch the Torah wave.